Our focus on AI is very aligned with how we think about thematic investing. It's really about understanding, not so much being technologists around it, but understanding the use cases and the applications and where it can drive a huge amount of customer efficiency and ROI. And we'll be very focused on capitalizing on here.
We really think about it across two main lenses. First is on offense. How do we think about the ways that using AI can allow us to access new markets or new customer opportunities or grow companies more quickly over time? The next is defensive. We really think about what are the different ways that we could be potentially disrupted. And then we want to leverage those lessons in terms of how we then position those companies going forward over time.
As long-term private equity investors, we have to be really thinking not just around what's happening today, but really over the long term. We think about the technology itself that is supporting and enabling AI and digital transformation, everything from the underlying models to applications that are being built on top to the services ecosystem around that, and spending a lot of time both on our growth equity platform and our private equity platform thinking about the enablers.
In reality, AI is going to be impacting all industries, all geographies, everything from data centers in our real estate fund to electric power in our climate fund to big business services companies in our capital funds. And so looking at all of that holistically, I think is really important at a firm with the scale that we have. One of our most interesting ways of investing is through transformations, where we are fundamentally changing the companies that we're investing in. And what I'm most excited about with respect to AI is its ability to aid in that transformation and accelerate it in certain cases. And so as we look at AI investing themes, one of the most prevalent ones is an ability to use AI to transform business services companies that are generally relying on human headcount to drive individual workflows and business processes, where AI can automate a lot of those workflows.
What we've really seen in the last year is unlocking a massive amount of efficiency within a software business. And so AI has enabled efficiency across areas like finance and HR and IT, but we're also seeing a lot of innovation in product. So that's efficiency in terms of AI-assisted co-pilots. It's also infusing AI into products and services to make them more competitive. And last, we also see AI having a major impact on firms' go-to-market. So they're getting more creative and more effective at content creation. They're enabling their sales force so that they can focus on the greatest opportunities by using AI to unlock insights into their customer base. All of these areas in a software business are being positively impacted by AI if the firms have sort of the urgency and capability to take advantage of it.
The next is the transition to agentic AI. And the concept here, agentic, is essentially the idea of thinking of that as almost a co-pilot. By having an agent, you can actually then say, hey, I need you to go handle these next sets of things. Go and figure it out, and essentially give them the broad parameters of what you want to go accomplish in the same way that you would work with a colleague or coworker or somebody on your team. We think that transition is going to be really, really important for a lot of horizontal software applications. We think over time that you're going to start to see those incumbents start to move into leveraging agentic AI, and the providers that allow them to do that are, in our view, a very interesting area for us to spend time.
One theme that I love right now is what we call AI for security and security for AI. So we work with a number of cybersecurity companies who were really looking at how do they leverage AI to make their products more robust and ultimately help their customers be more resilient. For example, as there's a proliferation of things like machine identities or AI agents, providing tools for authorization and AI-driven authorization is really, really important. So we're looking at companies that can not only capitalize on AI, but help companies operate more confidently in an era of AI.
One example is we own a business called Delinea in the identity security space, and they really are using AI in two ways. First is they are on the forefront of protecting not just human identities, but a machine-based, agentic, AI-based identities. And so it's actually creating a tremendous amount of demand for their products and solutions as enterprises struggle to handle what is happening on the ground with all these AI-based agents that are starting to proliferate. At the same time, they're also infusing AI into their products to give their customers better insight, leveraging the data that we already have to be able to more effectively protect those businesses, which is also creating additional demand for our products relative to our competitors. So really in a couple different ways, Delinea is on the forefront of AI adoption within cybersecurity.
As we think about our approach to AI, it's really starts with first and foremost the customer and the use case, and how can AI enable a better experience that drives ROI for customers. There's huge efficiency opportunities around healthcare. It's estimated there's $750 billion of fraud, waste, and abuse. It's somewhere between 20 and 30% of the overall amount spent in healthcare each year. And so you think about AI, you think about automation, you think about better application of data to patients, to treatments, and we should be able to really bend the curve in terms of higher quality of care at much lower cost. In the healthcare IT space, AI is having a real impact on a variety of our companies in a positive way. Nextech and WellSky, for example, are both electronic medical record and practice management vendors. And if you think about how the physician interacts with the patient, historically it was you spoke to the patient, you typed notes into your computer, and then you continued your conversation with the patient, which was very suboptimal in terms of building a real relationship and hearing what people were saying. Now with ambient listening, where the AI is just running in the background and transcribing those conversations automatically into the EMR, it's just a much better patient experience. It's also much better for the physician and drives a huge amount of efficiency and opportunity, and something we're quite excited about.
We're focused in domains where AI is going to be transformative in changing the value proposition, the competitive position of a certain segment of the industry. For example, if we believe that there are new applications for addressing things like public safety, with the advent of AI, there's an opportunity to completely disrupt the way that enforcement is done today, to make it more accurate, to ensure that it's driving much higher levels of public safety. There are many examples of companies who are really leaning into AI applications. A recent investment that we made in a company called Hayden AI. And Hayden has developed a computer vision system that is AI enabled, that actually is a camera that is mounted inside a municipal bus. And what it does is it identifies all kinds of problems for public transport, public safety. It completely automates the process of identifying those violations, then ultimately issues a ticket to the violators. A great example of something that actually generates more revenue for the city and has enormous public safety and environmental benefits. Another area is in healthcare. At the Rise Funds, we invest in a lot of healthcare services companies that serve primarily the Medicaid population. It's a very, very complex part of the healthcare system to navigate, because there are lots of sort of administrative and regulatory complexities and sources of friction that oftentimes make it impossible for the underserved populations to even know what healthcare services are accessible to them. The ability to have an agent of some kind that can help them navigate the complexities and do it in natural language and do it with a full understanding of their health context, where they sit in their qualification for certain types of medical benefits, could dramatically improve access to educational solutions that exist for those populations.
We're fascinated by what's happening in the AI space. Everybody's talking about equity. Everybody's talking about the upside. We're really focused on the credit side of the platform of, how do you create innovative financings in order to ensure that your downside is protected? You get a very attractive return, and you're not taking the risk of technological obsolescence. I think as we look at AI and we look at the evolution of what's happening in the space, there are two things that are going to define the winners in this space. The first is data, and the second is access to capital. If you think about the quantums of capital that are needed for this space, you're talking about hyperscalers looking for over $300 billion of capital in 2025 alone. There's a demand for or a requirement for $5 trillion worth of capital over the next 5 years. There need to be innovations from a financial aspect that are commensurate with the technological innovations that we're seeing in the market today. And so in terms of having a fully integrated product suite going all the way from private equity, through corporate credit, all the way into structured credit, I think all of this is going to come into play as you marry ABS, with preferred equity, with regular way corporate capital structures, with construction financing, as you go from building out the infrastructure and the data centers to funding the compute. There's just so much capital that is needed to go into this space, and that means there's a lot of opportunities.
TPG's history in technology investing has really put us in a great position to be active on this AI thematic that we're spending a lot of time on as a firm. It's a specialist theme, but it really requires a broad and diverse set of skills. And so if you're going to appropriately attack these mega themes, you need to have technology sector expertise, which we have in droves through our credit and private equity business. You need digital infrastructure expertise, which is kind of the underpinning of these businesses. You need structured credit expertise, which is in large scale going to fund a lot of these projects. And you have to bring all of that together under one roof where everyone's talking to each other, everyone's working together, everyone's analyzing and mining for the best opportunities together. As part of that, we've been able to partner with XAI on providing a very novel financing solution, which is the first large credit financing of one of the AI lab companies. That's focused on a set of collateral that gives us the protections we need as lenders, gives them the capital they need to continue to invest in growing their training capacity to stay at the bleeding edge of frontier models. And ultimately, we think sets up a great win-win partnership between ourselves and the company. When we think about the AI opportunity set as it relates to credit solutions or a lending platform more broadly, I think the first thing to call out is just the scale of it. When you look at what's being built in terms of infrastructure, there's been nothing like this. You compare it to the telecom build cycle of the early 2000s. We expect that the pace of innovation will continue to be fervent. And our job is to continue to identify those next themes as they emerge and figure out how to pair that with the right capital internally. And so I think as you think about where TPG is going to continue to position itself in this sector, you should expect us to continue to invest with a highly thematic focus in companies we like, companies we admire, companies we think that will ultimately be the winners in a massive growing sector.
AI has been a long-standing area of interest for many of us at TPG. We have a number of advantages. The first one is we have a long history in technology investing. So we're coming at this with 2 or 3 decades of depth in this space, relationships, and all the like. The second thing is we are a very collaborative firm. And because we have so many platforms across so many geographies, there will be interesting intersections that we can bring together using our collaborative culture to come up with better insights and give us an advantage on certain deals. When we are investing in AI, one thing that comes to mind is it's a very capital intensive business. And TPG is really well positioned to help in this area because we are providers of everything from equity capital all the way to debt capital. And so if you think about billions of dollars needed to be invested in data centers or AI infrastructure, that can come in many forms. And when we're meeting with companies that serve the space, we can offer them an entire menu of ways that we can help and really sell our ability to be a thought partner and additive to their overall knowledge of the space. The last thing I'll mention is we are here in San Francisco, and that gives us a huge advantage. All of the innovation that's happening in AI, or at least most of it, is within walking distance of the firm that we're in today. And so just being here, having that be part of our personal networks, professional networks, gives us a huge advantage, both in terms of sourcing new deals and just building our own knowledge base in this space.